Hey guys, how's it going? It's time for another video. But first, shirt of the day is this awesome Dragon Age shirt my husband got me. Has a Grey Warden on the front, and on the back it has the Grey Warden Oath, which I love. Every time I play the game and I hear them say the Oath, it still gives me chills. Jane is here! Hooray! So a little while ago I started a new series that I'm going to do periodically because it was well received, called By the Cover. What we do with this series is I pick out several covers randomly. Usually I just ask Goodreads to recommend me something, and I pick out an interesting looking cover. Without reading the synopsis, without looking at anything about this book, I'm going to look at the cover with you and then make up a story myself based on the cover alone. I have not prepared anything ahead of time. This is all my imagination right in the moment. And you can join me. Comment below and let me know what you think the story is about, judging only by the cover. Alright, let's look at our first book. It is called Boney Legs. Let's get that on up there. Bam. So, Boney Legs. Okay, this one obviously is some sort of horror book, just judging by the sheer number of bats near the top. And there's some eyeballs going on down by the bottom. Got a moon and stars on the side. This creepy lady in the middle with curtains that have skulls and flowers on them. Okay. She's got little mushrooms and little skull plants next to her there. And there's a picture of a little house out in the woods on the top there. So, but what is the story of Boney Legs? Let's see. I don't write too many horror stories, so let's see. Okay. Boney Legs is the story of the old lady who is in the middle of the picture, and she is unfairly by the village called Boney Legs because her legs are a little bit thin. People are so judgy these days. Come on. And because they judge her so much, and they're always calling her things like Boney Legs and like bulbous nose and claw hands, she is shunned from the village and retreats out into the forest. Now, out in the forest, things are a little bit spooky. There are bats, it's always kind of dark, and at night things get seriously creepy. But Boney Legs is a badass because her life of cruel treatment by the villagers has taught her how to handle just about anything. Boney Legs ends up befriending a lot of the horrifying creatures that are out in the forest, and this comes in seriously handy when a dark creature force thing made of blackness and eyeballs comes creeping into the forest and creeping towards the village where Boney Legs grew up. Now, she could just let it kill all the villagers who were so mean to her, but she decides to be the better person and go deal with it. And so using all of the powers and skills that she has learned from the forest, plus her fleet of attack bats, Boney Legs defeats the dark eyeball creature. And of course the town still shuns her because they're still judgmental fucks. The end. Okay, so the next book we are judging only by the cover is called Lost Girl. Let me throw it up. Pow. So this one, it looks a little bit more romance-ish. I don't know. I really don't know. But I try to have books that look like they're from different genres. So okay, let's have a look. Of course, we've got Lost Girl, and she couldn't remember Neverland. He wanted to forget. Oh, ooh, yes, this is intense. Okay, we've got a woman on the front wearing a white dress, which symbolizes purity, although it looks a little bit like a wedding dress, so there's that. She's obviously hovering. There are curtains behind her billowing in the winds, lacy, gently wafting curtains, and an open window implying that she could escape through it. I can't tell. Is that like... What is that pipe thing underneath her feet? It kind of vaguely resembles a tampon. I'm not sure what to think about that. But the space around her seems very empty, like maybe a dance studio or something. So we're gonna go with that. Okay, so Lost Girl obviously has to do with Peter Pan. Let's see, there's a dancer. We're going with the dance studio thing. So there's this dancer, this female dancer, not Wendy. When she was a child, she was lost to Neverland. However, before Wendy, Peter and his Lost Boys were a lot more mean about who could join. And even though she was an orphan, and even though she didn't have anybody, they would not let her join the Lost Boys because she was a girl, and so they sent her back. But she always had these memories of Neverland and possibly a little bit of residual magic hanging around on her person. She grows up, she tries to fall in love. Meanwhile, Peter, even though he has sort of fallen in love with Wendy, he's still hanging out in Neverland doing whatever, but he can't get rid of this memory of this girl that he met before and who they chased away. And so one day he decides that he is going to find out what happened to her, and he goes and he seeks her out and he watches her and sees that she still has some memory or some magic about her. But she seems to be going on to live an adult life, which of course naturally disgusts Peter. However, some villain from Neverland, perhaps Captain Hook, was interested in where Peter was going and followed him. And he sees that she has power and potential still about her, and maybe he's a little bit attracted to her himself. So now Peter has to figure out whether he wants to help her and save this girl. She needs to figure out whether she can save herself and whether she believes any of this is actually happening to her. And the villain has to deal with his feelings of love for this Lost Girl that he's just discovered. There you go. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What do you think Lost Girl is about? Comment below and let me know. Next up, we have a children's book, because I always try to do a children's book, and I picked a real challenge for myself with this one. It's called I Will Love You Anyway, and the cover is really simple. Here you go, check it out. Bam! As you can see, there's not much to it. It's a red cover with gold words, and there's a cute doggy on the front, and he seems to have little sweat bands around his ankles, so he works out? I don't know. But this is a children's story, obviously, so let's try to figure out, just from this cover, what it could be about. Obviously, the title is our biggest clue, I Will Love You Anyway. I choose to believe that this dog is going through a series of bad situations or bad owners. Maybe people, because it's a children's book, so not people who physically treat him badly, but just aren't the right fit. And the dog is just trying to find the right fit for him, and he is thinking about this family that he will have someday, and he's maybe thinking to himself, sometimes you're not always going to have time for me, but I will love you anyway. Sometimes you're going to call me a bad dog, but I will love you anyway. Sometimes you will dress me in obnoxious little sweatbands on my legs, and I will love you anyway. And then eventually, of course, at the end of the story, the dog finds a family to love, and he doesn't even need to worry about it because he loves them unconditionally all the time. And there you go, those are my thoughts for the adorable little book, I Will Love You Anyway, which I actually now want to find out what it's actually about, because that dog on the cover is fucking adorable, am I right? Yeah. Okay, the next book that I chose is a sci-fi book, or at least it's supposed to be. I just kind of looked for sci-fi books and found an interesting looking cover. This one's also going to be kind of a challenge, I'll put it up for you. Pow! It's a beautiful cover, which is what drew me to it. The Melancholy of Mecca Girl, and it is a very Japanese cover with the style. I don't know a lot about Japanese folklore. I know a little bit. I'm pretty sure that Mask is a kitsune, which is a fox. And obviously the girl looks Japanese. She's surrounded by wires and technology. She looks like she has headphones over her ears. But there's also water and waves below her, which is another big sort of part of Japanese art. And the sun or the moon behind her, I can't really tell because everything is very gray. And the whole thing kind of reminds me of the look of Kubo and the Two Strings, go figure, because that's sort of a Japanese story as well. Okay, let's see. I really don't know what to do about the Melancholy of Mecca Girl, because the cover is beautiful, but I don't know. And I really like Japan and I like their culture and everything, but I'm not going to even pretend that I have even a slim grasp on all of their rich culture and mythology. So we're going to just try this just with what I know and just out of my imagination here. So, okay. The Mecca Girl, who is on the cover, is a robot, because yes, she is an android. Perhaps she doesn't know that she is, but I feel like she does, and that's what makes her so melancholic, because she is the only one. She was created in a Japan which is really modern and has sort of forgotten its past and its culture, and so she is embroiled in all of this technology and modernness, but she, being such a different creature herself, is drawn to the mythology, mythical beasts and the gods and the sea. She escapes her creator, who part of the book was maybe him trying to hunt her down, and she escapes to the sea where she tries to find herself. Maybe she finds a little fishing vessel, like a little old school fishing vessel, and she sails out to the sea where she can find who she actually is and find her spirit, even though she is a robot. And in the book, maybe we don't know whether, like, she can encounter some mythical creatures out there, and the readers don't know whether she is using her robot imagination to create these things, or whether she's actually being visited by Japanese folkloric deities and creatures. Of course, the ending would have to be very sad, so in the end, she is found by her creator, and even though she begs for him to understand that she has become something much more than she had been, he finds her flawed and returns her to her original state, and it's very sad. And there you go, those are my thoughts on the melancholy of Mecca Girl. What are your thoughts? Comment below and let me know. And finally, we have a book called Magician. There are a lot of books called Magician, but this one had an interesting cover, so I wanted to go with the fantasy. Okay, so here we go. Put it up on the screen. Pow! We have two people, probably male and female. The secondary one has a bow, which probably means it's a female because women are allowed to use bows in fantasy, and that's like it. They're standing next to a basin. The man looks like he's praising the sun, even although the sun is not out. The basin is, of course, smoking, some sort of weird smokiness. There's an island across the way with two trees and a fire in the middle, some cliffs, and the moon, and everything is bathed in a purple light. Okay, so what is the Magician about? Well, it's pretty obviously about a magician, but the two characters that we see on the front, neither of them are the magician. They are, in fact, a pair of adventurers that are questing to find this mythical magician. Their land is in danger because it always is. It's a fantasy story. They have heard that the magician could save their land, so this man and woman, a warrior and an archer, go out on an adventure to try and find this magician. They have to perform a series of rituals, they have to do a series of tasks along the way, they probably fall in love. That's just what you do. And this is adult fantasy, so they probably have sex. And they finally reach the island where the magician is supposed to be, and they send up the smoke from the special basin, probably using ingredients they've gathered in their quests along the way, to signal the magician. His fire comes on. The magician, of course, is not actually there. He just left that fire a long time ago, and they're not sure whether the magician is still alive somewhere, or he's dead now, and he just left this magical fire. So they look at each other and they're like, well, fuck, because what are we gonna do? Everyone's expecting us to come back with this magician. And so they decide to make something up and claim that the magician told them this thing. And they go back to their people and they tell them what the magician said, and the people just go along with it because that's what they think it is, and they defeat the evil. Because these two people in their quest have come upon the knowledge and the skills that they need to defeat the evil. They didn't need the magician anymore because finding the magician allowed them to learn how to handle the evil. They win the day, the evil is vanquished, at least until the next book, because you know it's fantasy, so there's probably 80 books in the series, and the people rejoice and probably do a folksy dance. So there you go, those are my thoughts on The Magician and what it might be about, judging only by the cover. If you enjoyed this second episode of By the Cover, let me know for sure. The more you enjoy them, the more likely I am to do more. They are kind of edit heavy, so they take a little while. But if you're liking them, it will encourage me to do more. Remember, I post new videos every Monday and Friday/Saturday whenever my slow-ass internet decides to upload something. Feel free to like, subscribe, whatever suits your fancy, and you can also find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. Everything you need is in the doobly-doo. I will see you all next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!